Chris, we don't have anybody on the phone right now. Is that correct?
That is actually incorrect. We do have a phone call whenever you're ready for it.
Okay, let's take it. Who is it, please?
Okay, calling from London, actually, we have Ioana. And let me just pull her up real quick. Okay, we should be good to go.
Okay.
Ioana, hi, this is Al.
Hi. Thank you for taking the call. How are you?
Oh, great. Is this, the name isn't quite familiar. Is this your first year in ModPo?
It is actually, yeah. It's my second year of university and my first year of ModPo.
Oh, great. Where are you at university?
So I'm studying in London. I'm studying bioengineering.
Mm-hmm. So you're doing bioengineering and you decided to take this free online course about poetry.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? I've just always been passionate about it. I never really had a chance to delve into it, but it's been amazing so far.
Great. So I want to invite Davey and Anna to respond to whatever question or comment you have.
Sure. So I'm actually calling in because I am very, very excited for this week and happy that we're studying Tristan Tzara, because I am originally from Romania. So Tzara is someone whom we learn a lot about in high school.
Yeah.
So especially, to make a Dadaist poem, we talk so much about it in school, and we kind of related to his biography a lot. He was always kind of torn between nations and cultures.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of fragmentalization really shines through.
Yeah, that's great. Before I turn to Davey and Anna to comment on Tzara, do you know the term exophony or exophonic would be the adjective? Does that word ring a bell to you?
I don't think so, no.
exophonic is the adjective, exophonic. And it refers to, it's a really great term. It refers to someone who chooses to write, speak, and create in a language that is not their own first language, right?
Okay.
So there's some great exophonic poets. My favorite at the moment is Yoko Tawada, who is Japanese, who writes in German deliberately so that Yoko Tawada is fluent in German, but it's not the native language, and coming from Japanese to German is difficult. And so Yoko writes in a way that is already defamiliarized and disoriented. Paul Celan is a famous version of that, that spoke 5 or 6 languages. Romanian was first, then German, and then moved to France. But the Germans killed Paul's family, his parents, and he decided to speak in the language of the murderers of his family. So that's classic exophonic. Well, Tzara, I mean, I think a lot of Romanians who moved to France and started hanging around in Zurich, they immediately became exophonic. But I think you probably can identify with this idea of being in a place where the linguistic community is relatively small in population, and then having to devote your linguistic time to another language. And Tzara's way of doing that was to completely defamiliarize any language, which makes Tzara, you ready for this? Meta-exophonic. Anyway, I was just blustering there because I'm really interested. I'm a little happy caffeinated this morning that I made the mistake of making some caffeine in my coffee, but also because I'm just so excited that you called. And so I believe it's Anna and Davey. Who wants to start? Anna, you want to say something about Tzara?
Well, Ioana, did you have a question about Tzara, or were you just excited to talk about Tzara?
Yeah, just very excited to talk about it. And I find it very, very interesting that we actually in school in Romania study so much about Tzara, but even so in ModPo, I found out so many new things and layers to his poetry.
Wow.
I'm jealous, frankly. My high school was not nearly that cool. I don't know about the rest of my
your high school is
American
squarest high school in Philadelphia, so that doesn't really count.
No, but still, I mean, I think it's really cool to to have that experience in high school, being exposed to Dadaism and the poem specifically to make a Dadaist poem. Because I know for me, I think, and I'd love to hear more about your experience, but I think it's really exciting to teach high school students about Dadaist experiments and to especially that particular poem, because to me, the great thing about that poem is that it very much invites me as a reader to go, it's specifically in the poem, right? It invites me as a reader to go make a Dadaist poem. So now I want to know, did you go make your own Dadaist poem when you read it?
I think I lacked the creativity for it.
No, no, that's his point, though, Iona. No one lacks the creativity. You don't need creativity.
Yeah, you just need a pair of scissors.
Yeah, and a newspaper, which is a little hard to come by. Don't you feel the urge? I'm going to turn to Davey in a sec. Don't you feel the urge to take the newspaper and cut it up and make something better out of the news?
There is absolutely a strong artistic urge that I get after reading such poetry, for sure.
That's great. In your voice, I can hear the smile on your face. This is great. Davey, what do you want to say?
I just want to echo Anna's enthusiasm that it's so cool to imagine a group of high school students reading this poem. Thanks for telling us about that. And I think that like something that the Tzara does in week 4 is I think that when folks struggle with Stein, they try to reconcile like, someone in my office hours yesterday was talking about like all of the individual words are familiar to me, but they become unfamiliar in their arrangement. And something that's great about To Make a Dadaist Poem is that it puts that process of defamiliarization in the hands of the reader. So taking something that feels like a really familiar form of language, something that's designed to be accessible like a newspaper, and making the process of it becoming unfamiliar or strange, something that the reader does rather than something that the writer does. And that's a procedure that helps what might feel like esoteric or weird or hard about a lot of experimental writing be something that everybody can do. And that's super awesome. And like, what a cool thing to teach high schoolers. I'm so excited about that idea. Thanks for telling us that was your experience.
Ioana, I'd like to invite a couple more TAs to suggest for you some things that are going to happen later in the course that will play upon, that will supplement your interest in Tzara. So I
would love that. Thank you.
Great. So, I mean, because you're busy with school, and it may be that by week 7, you're going to think, oh, I don't have time. I have to pick 1 or 2 poems. So I'm going to ask Max and Amber Rose and Lily Max, Amber Rose, and Lily, just to suggest something coming ahead in future weeks that does something with the Tzara. Max, what are you thinking? What poem would you recommend?
Well, most poems in in week 9 will speak to the Tzara experiment, the Dada experiment. You'll see poets using computers. There's a sort of restaging of the Tzara method of cutting up lines from the newspaper. There's a lot going on, so there's plenty to check out there for sure.
Great, week 9. So hold on for week 9. Lily, what would you suggest?
See, it could be, you're going to be shocked that this is the example I'll give, but I think it might be interesting to contrast Tzara's composition method with some of the more babble flow and first thought, best thought ideas of the beats in week 6, because it's interesting to compare those final products that have really different processes, but might, to some people, sound kind of similar.
You're about to hear the sound of my hand slapping on my forehead. Did that come through? I don't know.
It did.
Lily is just, I don't know what to say about Lily. She's the best. And, she's not a big fan of that week. And yet that was just such a great suggestion. Oh, my God.
Famously open-minded.
You are so open-minded, and my head hurts now. Amber Rose, do you have a suggestion?
I have. I'm trying to wait for this pen helicopter to pass. I don't know.
Oh, we can't really hear it. It's fine.
Okay. I'm so sorry. It's so distracting. Okay. Yes, 2 things. One, which I was already thinking and which Gabe mentioned in week 9. Bernadette Mayer's writing experiments are really fantastic, and Mayer gives directions very much like Tristan Tzara's poem that you can kind of just follow exactly what it is and see what the outcome, produce a poem. So those are good for like task-based, I'm not feeling creative, but I want to do a creative thing. And then also I want to toss out in week 8, Harriet Mullen's Sleeping with the Dictionary, which is a little bit different, but Harriet Mullen is also using particular strategies. Oh, there's a word that Davey always says that I can't think of. Procedures, poetic procedures, which can also be followed in a similar kind of way.
I don't know if you've been writing these down, but if you go to,
I'm really excited for all of these.
Student, wow. Thank you for taking this all so seriously. Davey has one more suggestion, then I'm going to ask you to hang up and promise to call us back at least in week 9. Davey, what's your suggestion?
Oh, also in week 9, there's a wonderful poem by the poet Jenna Osman called Dropping Leaflets, in which she basically dropped a bunch of political paraphernalia and leaflets in her office and picked them up and built a poem out of them. So it's very much the premise of the Tzara, but with political material rather than newspapers.